vulnerable. Whenever gatekeepers, when those who have keys, whenever those men begin to transition, a city begins to come into a place of vulnerability. There's nobody at the gates. And we've dealt with this before. We've talked about what a gate is, but just for the purpose of understanding, I want you to write down that word gates. Whenever you're dealing with gates, you're dealing with entrances and exits. You're dealing with places of transport, import and export. Whenever you're dealing with a gate, you're dealing with access. You're dealing with access. Every city is a gate. Every city is a gate. That's very important for you to understand. That God uses a city so that he can enter into nations. That God will unlock cities. That God will begin to ripen and prime cities so that he can enter in and influence a nation. And what the enemy does is that he brings a city on lockdown. Oh yeah, the enemy will move into a region, into a town, to make sure that the believers there are so mediocre, to make sure that the believers there have been so caught up in their religious tradition that they forget about the city. They're so enamored by having a great service, by having a nice church, by having lights, camera, action, that they forget about the city. As a matter of fact, the trend is if you want to build a great church, you got to move as far away from the city as possible. Oh yeah, that's why when you go to church in the morning, you got to go way out of town. Because nobody wants to deal with the city. They want to go where money is because they don't believe that God can put money in their pockets.
Come on. Come on.
And so whenever the enemy wants to infiltrate a nation, he will begin to bring cities down. He will make sure that the gatekeepers are no longer in their place. The scripture says that if you bind up the strong man, you can get his goods. Write this down. Goods are both gifts and people. You are a part of the goods that are in the city.
Jesus.
You Wilkins, every one of us, we are a part of the goods that are in the city. So if the devil gets the city, don't matter that you say. Your house will still be foreclosed. No matter how much anointing you got. If the devil gets the city, your family will be affected. Your marriage will be affected. Your job will be affected. You can have the greatest gift. But if the devil takes the city, you might get fired. And you can speak in tongues all you want to. You can have a great church, everything. But because the devil has the city, you find it hard to advance. And so we have to begin to raise up and seek the Lord for a different type of church. Now, the American church model is what I call the seeker-sensitive church model. It's based on customer service. In the American church model, the customer is always right. It's like McDonald's. Because if you come and I'm preaching about something you don't like, I change what I preach. Yeah, if you come and we got a dress code that you don't agree with, we'll change the dress code. We doing music that you don't like? Okay, let's find out what type of music they like. When you want to do communion, you want to do communion every day. You want to wear all white. You want to wear the things on your heads. You want to have a you want to sing hymns. You'll be surprised what American churches will do to make sure that you join their church. Wow. They won't give you the truth. They'll give you what you want to hear. So now you'll be blessed even if you curse the pastor. Wow. Oh yeah, in the American church model, you don't have to be a member of a church. Yeah. No, you ain't got to be a member of a church. Since we promote a life of promiscuity, you can do it everywhere. Wow. Yeah, go to a church. You can go there and be a visitor for 10 years. We ain't going to say nothing. Because the American church model is all about seeker sensitivity. We want the lights to be how you like them. Not the way that God says that he wants them, but the way you say you want them. Yeah. Everybody's struggling with something, and so we make God out to be a halfway God. A God that only does just enough. Oh, Jesus, but I serve a God that can go over and beyond. Somebody say he's a God of more than enough. All right, now I'm about to preach. I heard the Lord say very clearly, not this time. Not this time. In Joshua chapter 6, an entire nation, an entire family. This nation was bred from a family. 12 men had wives, they produced sons, and created a nation. Ever since the days of Adam, all they have seen was disappointment. Adam in Genesis chapter 3, he falls. Disappointed. He's shut out. Has a child. 2 great boys, Cain and Abel. Before you know it, disappointment. Disappointment. All throughout their life, all they're seeing is disappointment. Jacob, he's born second. Anybody know what it likes to feel like you second? Like you always second. You always come right after the miracle. Always, you're just 1 second too late. Jacob, he has to steal the birthright. He got something powerful, but he got it the wrong way. So his entire life he's running. Disappointment. He comes to a place, his name is changed. He has 12 sons. Joseph is raised up. Man, this is the man he's been waiting for, the son of his right hand. This is the boy of his old age. And out of nowhere, his sons throw him in a pit. Disappointment. It seems like every single time they get to a place of aggression or a place of progression, every time it looks as if they're about to go to another level, disappointment. Disappointment. God, they go into Egypt. Joseph, watch this. Joseph, he reappears again. His dad is happy. Thank God for Joseph. Years later, that family now are slaves. Disappointment. No matter how far they go, there's something always there to stop them. God raises up Moses. Moses looks like he's the man. He's got 10 miracles in his pocket to deliver them from Egypt. I mean, he takes them out and they get in the wilderness and they can't go nowhere. They got delivered from Egypt just to go nowhere. They got saved just to go nowhere. They joined the church just to go nowhere. So it looks like they took a step forward and disappointment. Moses dies. Joshua is raised up. Joshua takes them to Jericho, and God has been promising them, Kia, this is the land that I promised Abraham I was going to give you this. They get to this place, and the only thing they can see is walls. Disappointment. They got to the place that God said, get here, and I'll give you the land. They got there, and it's shut up. Nobody can go in, and nobody can come out. And you would wonder, after all of this disappointment, that they would give up. Somebody say, not this time.
Not this time.
So God gives them a command. He says, I want you to walk around this wall once a day for 6 days. Now, you got to watch me. I start asking the Lord, I'm like, Lord, why did you have them walk? They got enough utilities, they got enough artillery to break the walls down. They got men of war, they got weapons, they got strategies. Why do you give them this thing? God had to show them that what their parents went through was not in vain. Yeah. For 40 years, a generation walked in the wilderness. So you have a mother and a father. They are both in the wilderness walking. They're both in the wilderness walking. The only thing they've been doing for 40 years is building up their legs. Hoping for one day, what I don't have, my child will have. So I'm just going to walk. I'm just going to walk. I might not have the promise. I may not have the blessing, but I'm going to walk. And over years, their molecular system begins to multiply. Their DNA begins to change because they are being developed into men of great weight. Over years, they're developing their legs. Over years. All of a sudden, that generation starts to have a baby. Because of their unbelief, not because of their lack of strength, but because of their unbelief, they die off. But now you got this super generation. Come on. They was born with the genes to, oh God. They were born with the genes to see the impossible and say, not this time. Not this time. My mama, my daddy, they saw the blessing, but they, not this time. And so on one day, God speaks a word and say, just start walking. I know what you saw your mother doing and you didn't think it was going to work. I know what you saw your father doing, but baby, just start walking. I know you don't know what's going to happen. I know you don't know the miracles that I got for you. Just start walking. And all of a sudden, they start walking. and the ground begins to tremble, and they have no idea what this is. They have absolutely no idea what is in them. Got no idea. They start walking, and on the first day, they walk around, nothing happens. I knew it. I knew it. Got a promise, didn't come to pass. Disappointment. But you know what? I got a word, and so I'm going to wake up early the next morning, and I'm going to walk again. On the second day, nothing. I knew it. I went to church. He prayed for me, but I didn't get it. I knew it. Jehovah Rapha, yeah, right, I knew it. I knew it. On the third day, I'm not going to give up. I know I don't feel like doing it. I don't feel like going to church. I don't feel like going to class. But I'm going to walk. On the fourth day, they do it again because they got a promise over their head. I'm not going to do it, not this time. On the fifth day, they get up and they're walking. But by this time, they're tired. All the people in Jericho are looking at them and saying, what are they doing? Don't they remember what happened to their mama? Don't they remember what happened to their dad? The one who got laid off the job after 30 years of work and didn't have no more money. Don't they remember what happened? They got up again on the sixth day. But this time, on the sixth day, they don't go to sleep the way they went to sleep the other nights. Because God promised on the seventh day. So now, on the sixth day, when they go to sleep, they're like a child waiting for Christmas. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what it's going to be like. But I know when I get up, I'm just going to start walking. And on the seventh day, they got up. Something has been activated in their spirit. And they just start walking. And they say, you know, I'm going to keep walking until I hear a sound. And once I hear that sound, I'm going to make noise until I can't make any noise no more. Oh yeah, when I hear the sound, and see, this is why you got to be careful to sit by people that don't know what's over your life. Because when you're trying to hear a sound of deliverance, they talking. Yes, Lord. When you're trying to hear a sound of elevation, they're talking. You'll be surprised why some of the walls in your life are still up. Because when you should have heard the sound, you were distracted. And so they're walking in silence. Don't nobody say nothing. No, I don't know. Don't say nothing. How you doing? It don't matter how I'm doing today. What's your grade? Don't matter what my grades are. Don't say nothing. Because I feel something. Shakata. There's something rumbling. Don't say nothing. And see, you got to understand, there are certain times when you are not to say nothing. I'm not going to let what comes out of my mouth distort my blessing. I'm not going to say nothing. Because you know what? My intellect might get in the way. Don't say nothing. And they're just walking. Yes, Lord. Around this entire city. And all of a sudden, and you got to, you know, it's one thing to be in the front. It's another thing to be in the back. Because the horns are in the front. So the people in the back, they don't hear the horns when they go off. Watch what happens. The blessing comes like a wave. Because the people in the front begin to rejoice. And then the people after them begin to rejoice. And even though they didn't hear it, they see somebody praising God. And that's a sign that my blessing